is coming in now. Karibu sana waziri. You may take your seats. So, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we have been waiting for has finally come. Waziri is here with us, and we want to start our program right away. And so, to kick us off, I want to invite the Director of the Sugar Directorate to kick us off officially. Director Willis.
Hello, good morning. Good morning again. Okay, Bwana Guest of Honor, Honorable Peter Munya, Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Corporatives, the Director General of Agriculture and Food Authority, the CECs present, the chairman of this task force that we are launching its report, all the other dignitaries, and the farmers, millers. Good morning again. Now mine will be very simple. I want to start off the meeting by having a word of prayer, and then we'll introduce the various people represented in this lodge. So may I request Purity McKenna to lead us in an opening prayer. Purity is not in. Somebody else? Somebody else who is willing to open for us with a word of prayer? Okay, just a minute.
Let's all arise. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you this morning. We thank you for having given us safe journeys to this place. We also thank you for having led our CS to this place for this very important meeting. As we gather here today, Lord, give us the wisdom during this discussion, as the CS is going to launch a very important document in the life of sugarcane farmers in Kenya. As we do this, we ask for your mercy to reign upon us throughout the discussion. I ask this believing and trusting in your name, Jesus Christ.
Hello. Now, we will go direct into the introductions. And I just wanted to go through the list of those present. Okay, we have in attendance, guest of honor, sir. We have about 25 farmers of sugarcane from all over the sugarcane growing counties. We have around 13 millers represented here. We have representation from our Sugar Research Institute. Then we have various farmers associations led by Muhoroni Multipurpose, and then sugar Sugarcane Pricing Committee, and we also have transporters and harvesters represented. Now, besides that, we have various task force members of the committee. We are launching its report. I don't know, because of time, do I give them to say who they are, sir? Do we need to, one? Okay, can I request one farmer to introduce him or herself?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Ochieng Ugendo. I am the Secretary General, Kenya Sugarcane Growers Association. Bwana CS, let us welcome you to Kisumu County. Madam DG, welcome to Kisumu County, and my able chairman. This report has been a long time in coming for this industry. The industry has waited long enough. We are very impressed with the CS because coffee has done it, tea has done it, and now we are moving sugar. And you know, sugar has a lot of politics. So the milestones that we have made today, really, we need to congratulate you. We need to congratulate the team. So as we wait to hear what the team has done, may I say thank you and welcome again.
Thank you, and one Miller representative. Millers. So we are represented.
Thank you very much to the CS and your team, to the farmers, the millers, the team that worked on the price stabilization report, the CECs presented. I want to say thank you very much, Bwana CS. Indeed, as the farmer representative spoke, this is a milestone. The farmers are the backbone of this industry. And for them to have a price stabilization, or should I say income stabilization, is really something that has been long in coming. And the launching of this report will be a very, very special milestone for them and even for us millers, so that the industry can move with an understanding of something that is laid down, a process that we can all look to and say that this one will support our farmers. Sugarcane is is actually the main raw material that we use for bringing sugar into the country. The millers, as they are now, the capacity that we have, can actually produce enough sugar for the country. The farmers have been working very hard to ensure that we have enough sugarcane. But unfortunately for them, sometimes because of the market that we have for sugarcane, even just for sugar, it has been very difficult for the farmer. So we believe that this task force has worked hard enough to ensure that the report that we are launching today is going to be a stabilization for our farmers and even for the milling industry. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I don't have much more to say.
Thank you. Oh, she's Joyce Opondo. She's the secretary of KESMA, the Kenya Sugar Millers Association, and she's also representing Kibo's Sugar. Now, may I request one CEC to introduce and make one or two comments.
Thank you so much. I don't want to take much time. I just want to recognize the presence of my colleague from Kericho. Engineer, Simama Waziri Akuone. Yeah, that's my counterpart from Kericho County. I am Gilchrist Okwom, the CEC member for Agriculture, Kisumu County. Oh, there's also my counterpart from Bungoma, Mheshimiwa Wanjala. Karibu. All right, thank you. So on behalf of the Governor of Kisumu County, I just want to formally welcome you into this great county for your functions for today and also tomorrow. So feel most welcome. We know it's a squeeze day, but this has been long in coming. We are looking forward to this report. Thank you so much. And feel at home wote. Msiende haraka mkimaliza, sawa?
Okay, thank you, Bwana Sisi. Then may I request Bwana Francis Waswa, representative of the Sugarcane Pricing Committee, to introduce himself. Bwana Waswa. Just one word. We are running short of time.
Honorable guest of honor, our Minister for Agriculture, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Francis Waswa. I come from Bungoma, Nzoia Sugar. I represent farmers, I represent sugarcane farmers on the Sugarcane Pricing Committee. Bwana Waziri, it's a pleasure that you appointed me to represent farmers on the Sugarcane Pricing Committee. And while the position, the task that we thought we were going to carry out as a cane pricing committee, you gave it to this committee, this task force to carry out. So we are anxious, Bwana Waziri, to listen and to know if they have actually talked about the problems that face the sugarcane farmers, especially on matters of cane pricing. We are concerned that farmers are not being paid the price that they deserve, especially in terms of the ex-factory price, which we think is mere guesswork, and all the profits are going to the millers and the traders. And therefore, we are very anxious that the Sugarcane Pricing Committee, the sugarcane pricing formula must be reformed so that it can benefit the farmers. That is the case of the matter. And even now, Bwana Waziri, we want to also tell you that even the price, which is 45.63, which we passed recently in the cane pricing committee, is not being honored by the millers. It is not being paid by the millers. Some millers are paying 3,000, 300, others are on 4,000. So we feel, Bwana Waziri, that we're not getting fair treatment. With those few words, Bwana Waziri, thank you for welcoming.
Thank you. Lastly, before I invite other guests, may I request a representative of transporters to introduce himself and also to say just one word, please. Bwana Stephen Derry. He's not in. Okay, if he's not in, then I'll now hand over to Madam DG to say one or two words. Welcome, Madam DG.
Our Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Corporatives, the various directors from AFA who have come to support the Sugar Directorate, officers from the Ministry of Agriculture headquarters, county government officials, the Sugar Task Force members led by their able chairman, all protocols observed. Good morning, or is it afternoon? I want to take this opportunity, Waziri, to thank you very much for realizing that our sugarcane farmers for a long time have been suffering due to price volatility challenges. When the prices are very volatile, it translates to the income that gets to the farmers. We want to thank you because you've come up with a permanent policy solution by directing that this price stabilization framework be developed. I actually came into office when the work was halfway done, and my work was to fast track the task force to complete the assignment. The task force has worked very hard, and I want to commend them for the good job. We have also worked hard to support you, the task force, and today we are proud to launch this report here in Kisumu. So thank you, task force. Thank you, members. Our work now, from where we sit, is to ensure that the recommendations in that framework are being implemented to the latter, so that next year, at the same time when we sit here, we'll be celebrating the achievements that we'll have done in the sugar industry. As also the DG for AFA, I want to assure you that we handle more crops than sugarcane. I think this morning, before we started discussing, we had an appointment with another directorate called Food. All of us are looking happy because we've had breakfast. We will work with you to support the other commodities also, so that much as we are also producing sugarcane, you are also food secure. So from where I sit, I think that is how we will work, because a farmer is very much integrated, and we will work closely so that the other commodities and enterprises are also supported. Thank you very much. I now take this opportunity to invite the chairman for the task force to officially introduce the members and make a few remarks. Welcome, sir.
My name is Kariuki Kingori, and I want to thank the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture for coming here today. He gave us the assignment to go out of the country, or at least in all sugar growing areas, to speak with the farmers and to see what it is that farmers need, and we can give that report to him. I got elevated. This is good. So, is this live? Okay. So, I don't want to repeat what I just said, but what I really simply said was to thank the CS for appointing us, and me particularly as the chairman of both the coffee and the sugar task forces. We're done with the coffee. Today we are doing sugar. And I couldn't be more grateful. Now, the Cabinet Secretary knows exactly where the problems of the sugar industry are. So I'm not going to stand here and recite them. We have given the report. He had answers to do what was really needed to be done. And I also want to thank the DG, Beatrice Nyamwamu, for managing this process toward the end. And she did it with grace and with courage and strength. For that, I'm very grateful. Now, but most importantly, after that, I want to thank the farmers, because the farmers opened their homes to us. They took us into their fields, at least for those of us who went to the fields, because we went to Kwale, we went to Nyando Valley, we went to Transmara, and we went to all those other places. And we spoke with the farmers, and we saw how they lived, and we saw the farms, and how most of those places are degraded. Now, this report is, I hope, at least from where I am, is completely farmer-centric. It addresses the problems of the farmer as much as we could find it. Is it possible that we could have missed something? Yes, and let me give you an example of that we could have missed. We didn't know that the surprise side, that is what has happened today, that there's going to be a war between Russia and Ukraine. And so we know now the surprise side is more expensive than we thought in terms of oil. That's gasoline and everything else that you can imagine. So, but I want you to know this. No matter how this report comes out and it's interpreted by most people, in my heart, and at the heart of the Cabinet Secretary and everybody else involved in this process, there was only one element that really mattered. That was the farmer. The farmer. And those who I met, and I spoke with quite a few number of times, they know that is exactly how I feel about the farmers, and I spoke about the farmers with courage and strength. Now, I didn't do this alone. I did it with a lot of other people. There were two cabinet, there were two groups. One was in coffee, one was in the sugar. So let me introduce the task force members dedicated to the sugar industry. Are you all here? Okay. You want to stand up so I can mention your names? I was, okay. Excellent. I want to start, oh, I'm glad to have Naomi. Let me start to my left with a team leader. That is Okioma, who is also running for the governor of Kisii. Maybe that's an appropriate thing to say here today. Sorry. Nyamira. Oh, okay, Nyamira. Okay, okay. All right. We elevated him through. Now, next to him is Peter Obando. And next to him is, oh, I can see you, Banja. Oh, Obara. It's nice to see you, Obara. And then next to him is Sioka. Next to him is, oh, he was in sugar, but he's now in coffee. I'm glad to have you here. That is a member to be of Parliament of Runyanges. And the next one is one of the most gracious and talented member of the task force. That's Naomi Kamau. And I'm glad that you're on my team. And I'm happy that you're here today. And the Cabinet Secretary has noticed who you all are and the rest of the PIT team. Thank you so much. You can now sit down. So, the process that we went through, I have already summarized in my remarks. It was simple. We spoke with the farmers. We met them in various venues, from hotels to farms in their own homes, and everywhere else that you can really imagine. And we asked the questions. And I'm very grateful, like I said again, to farmers like Vincent Ogam, Vincent of Nyando Valley, who was absolutely an expert in sugar, and he taught us a lot. We went through various reviews of everything that you can imagine. But most of this report, I'm going to leave it to the Cabinet Secretary actually to summarize it, because he is the one who has really hoped for whom with those report for. Now, I have the grace and the honor to invite the Cabinet Secretary, Peter Munya, to come and address the farmers. Okay, a change of plan, so we'll see how it is going to unfold. Thanks.
Okay, good morning again. May I take this pleasure, guest of honor, sir, to just run you through some of the key findings and recommendations of the task force report. Now, I'll not go much into the introductions. I want to just continue. Although I just wanted to mention that we currently have 16 sugar mills that last year produced for us over 700,000 metric tons of brown sugar. And that is still below our national consumptional requirements. Because brown sugar, we need around 950,000 metric tons per year. And white refined, the figure fluctuates between 150 and around 175,000. But it is bound to keep going up as we get more and more investors in food and pharmaceutical product companies. So that means we normally have deficit in terms of our sugar production. But we are happy that the last 2-3 years, we've seen increase in domestic production. We've also seen more investors getting interested in sugar milling business, and therefore it is our hope that all factors, other factors remaining constant, we should be able to be self-sufficient in brown sugar production in the near future. So these are some of the highlights, like we've seen a good increase in area under sugarcane over the years despite the challenges. So like last year, from 2002 to last year, we've seen almost 76% increase. Now we've also seen a slight increase in the productivity, the yield per unit area, from around 51 metric tons per hectare in 2012 to around 71. But there's still so much work to be done. Then let's continue. Now this is just showing the various factories, the names and their rated capacities and what they are actually doing. So with the 16 companies, although about 3 are not currently operational, we have a rated capacity of 51,000 metric tons, which if can be done, then we'll be able to be self-sufficient in sugar production. Let's continue. These are some of the jaggeries we have, which have been licensed by the Sugar Directorate. Let's continue. This just shows the production, the national production by year, time series data basically. The imports and exports. Let's continue. Now these are the general challenges, and there are some of the challenges that have been captured in the report you are launching, sir. And they include insufficient resources for research and extension services, limited adoption of new varieties, and even another challenge which is there is that the new varieties which have been released, we've lacked resources to multiply them and distribute to farmers. Then there's general high cost of production, and we'll get into specific details of what the team found out. Then the land tenure system in this country, the continuous subdivision depending on the number of your family members is negatively affecting sugarcane production. Because this crop is supposed to be highly mechanized, but as you continue to subdivide land, then it is not possible to highly mechanize it. Then agronomic practices have generally been poor. Most of the farms are not well maintained. The farmers are unable to buy fertilizers to add on to the crop to improve the productivity, and therefore they are generally low yields. And the low yields are partly responsible for the low return the farmer gets per unit area. Then low capacity utilization of the mills, especially the state-owned mills. They are performing fairly poorly and therefore affecting the overall return to the farmer. Then competition from low-cost imports is also affecting the sugarcane production and therefore prices. There are also the low world prices which generally affect our overall price at farm level. The roads are poor in some areas. And then another major challenge which has cropped into the sugar industry, unlike before, is that the many outgrowers companies that were set up with very good intentions have all basically collapsed because of various reasons. Now this is just showing one of the farms where the team visited. And then now the report has given detailed information about the challenges at various levels. So at the farm level, the report says that there are a lot of inefficiencies and distortions in the sugarcane production itself, the harvesting process, and the transportation process. And in the report, it is indicating that transport cost, for example, is one of the single most expensive venture for the farmers, because the total cost, they are spending around 22% to transport the sugarcane once it is harvested. So that is one of the most expensive undertakings. And then there are also a lot of challenges during transportation, like most of the time you've seen when the sugarcane is being transported, either to the transloading stations or direct to the mills. There's so much which is lost by spillages on the road. So the report clearly even estimated that. Then the pricing of the cane itself is also a very big challenge, because growers, so as you heard one of the representatives in the pricing committee complain, it is true, the farmers feel that the pricing of the cane itself is not clearly explained as per the formula. So they feel we need to do more work on that. Then delay in payment of sugarcane the farmers deliver to the sugar mills. This is generally a problem in the state-owned sugar mills, but it is also once in a while a problem even in the private-owned mills. Let's continue. Now, at processing level, the report clearly states that there are inefficiencies, as I've said, in the state-owned sugar mills, where the efficiencies are fairly low, especially in terms of the tons of cane that are used to make a ton of sugar, the TCTS. And that is a problem because they partly determine the ex-factory price, which is used in the formula to determine the cane price. So when they are inefficient, that inefficiency is passed over to the farmer, and therefore it becomes a big challenge. Then at marketing and trade level, we have the lawful imported sugar, but we also recognize that there's a lot of contraband sugar being traded, and that affects the final price because the supply and the demand is therefore distorted. Then another challenge at the marketing and trade area, okay, I can stop there. Then I can continue with, we require a number of issues to be addressed. And one of them is that the report strongly feels that we need to look at our policy and come up with very clear guidelines and mission. We also need to look at the strategies that we are going to apply to ensure that the subsector is up and running. Then we also need to look at the legal framework that will support both the policy and the strategies we develop. And there are also a number of cross-cutting issues that we'll need to consider, like the involvement of the youth in agriculture in general and sugarcane production in particular. So the report further goes on to indicate that one of the ways to address those challenges would be development of seed cane policy. Now, the details are covered in the report of how that should be done. Release of new varieties. We know we already have a number of varieties that have been released, but they are not with the farmers because of the resource constraints that we are dedicated. And then we also need to diversify, because currently you'll find almost all our sugar mills are only producing sugar. And yet there are many other products that can be gotten from sugarcane itself. We have cogeneration of electricity, we have production of ethanol, we have production of carbon dioxide, we have production of pepper, which can all be made from the sugarcane crop. But most of the companies we have not ventured into that. So that affects the income to the farmer, because where those other products are made, then the formula for compensating the farmer is also based on those other additional products the sugar mills make. Then we have the challenge, or we have to introduce quality-based cane payment. Quality-based cane payment, we feel, if the formula is well done and it is adopted, then it will compensate the farmer who has invested well in the crop, and the miller will also benefit by getting sugar that will give him, by getting cane that will give him good or high TCTS. Then, as you know, guest of honor, most of our sugarcane production has been rain-fed. Unlike the Nyando sugar belt, the weather is normally not very good. So there's need to think about irrigated sugarcane production. Kwale Sugar Industries tried this. They've had some challenges, but it is one of the ways to go. So we have to think as a sector on how we can increase the irrigated production. Then the report indicated that the public sugar mills are running into debts of over 150 billion, and therefore we still propose that the best way would be to list them so that we see if it can address the governance issues and the underlying challenges they are facing. That is well captured in the report. And then we also need to fund sugarcane research. Since the abolition of the sugar development levy, very little work has been going on in sugar research. Oh, thank you, sorry. So we recommended some work on research, and then we need also to think of how we'll improve on extension services to increase productivity. Now, the report has dealt a lot on sugarcane pricing situation and the formula that should be used and how the formula will finally benefit the farmers. Let's continue. Then price volatility, as we've explained, is the main issue, and the report has clearly covered how it should be addressed. And the report recommends the establishment of a fund. And the details of how the fund will be established and how it will be operationalized are all in the report. Then the other recommendations that we have is that we need to increase productivity and expand output, so the research has to be involved. We must have resources to roll out the new varieties with high yields and high sucrose content. We need to come up with fair farm gate prices, which are based on accurate data, because one of the challenges the team identified is that the statistics we have is not very accurate. And we have to mitigate against adverse weather impacts. I'm just scanning through, sir, because of time. Then let's continue. It's finished, okay. Okay, so thank you so much, sir.
So I hope everybody got to see in summary what it is that we really accomplished. I can assure you, we went both through the supply and the value chains of the sugar industry as it is. Now, what you have seen in summary, if you can probably look at the entire report and you can see the detail and see exactly what it is we came up with. One of the other things that wasn't mentioned is the risk management framework that we put together for remediation of the findings and the solutions that we find in the sugar industry. Now, the man who put us onto this task, and probably the only cabinet secretary I have known in the last number of years to have changed the agriculture industry, including the sugar industry, coffee and tea, is here today. And I'm really happy to invite Cabinet Secretary Munya to present the report this morning. Thank you, sir.
The chairman of the Taskforce on Sugar Price Stabilization Framework, representative of farmers and traders and millers, team from the ministry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to preside over the launch of the Sugar Price Income Stabilization Framework, a major milestone in our continued reform agenda for the sugar industry. This subsector has been one of our targets in the reform agenda because the government takes cognizance of the strategic role the subsector plays in employment creation and its contribution to socio-economic development within the sugar belt and beyond. Subsector is therefore envisioned in Vision 2030 and the Big Four agenda as one of those that have high potential for poverty reduction and employment creation. The National Agriculture Policy, which we have developed in collaboration with the county governments, has brought to life the 10-year agriculture sector transformation and growth strategy, whose goal has been to implement the aspirations of Vision 2030 by, one, promoting and institutionalizing large-scale commercial farming, two, revitalizing industrial crops that provide forward backward linkages for increased incomes for value chain players. 3, providing e-voucher schemes to facilitate access to agricultural input to smallholder farmers through the networks of agro dealers, thus increasing the reach and transparency in delivery of subsidies. providing crop insurance schemes to compensate growers against losses associated with unmitigated risks in the crop development cycle, and promoting climate-smart agriculture practices. In addition, ASTGS is the National Agricultural Investment Plan that also supports transformation of the agricultural sector in the first 5 years. The overall objective of the National Agricultural Investment Plan is similarly to accelerate the transformation of Kenya's agriculture towards one that sustainably supports Kenya's development and food security. The investment plan will underpin agriculture's shift towards a commercial, modern agricultural sector that sustainably supports Kenya's development. Whereas the above policies and strategies have existed since 2010, the challenge has been how to design policies and programs that maximize the contribution of agricultural micro and small enterprises to revenues that support rural economic growth, hence increasing the incomes of the rural communities in a manner that effectively alleviates poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, as earlier mentioned, the sugar industry in Kenya plays a critical socio-economic role and is an important economic activity in 15 counties, with cane farming contributing between 10 to 20% of the economies of Kisumu, Bungoma, and Kakamega, where farm households and rural businesses depend on income derived from sugar cane farming and sustain small towns and market centers. The gross turnover of the industry in 2010 was estimated at Kenya shillings 60 billion, which was 5% to the value of the agricultural market production and 8% of all crops marketed in 2021. It contributes directly and indirectly to approximately 16% of the entire Kenyan population through the development of social amenities such as schools, health centers, sports, recreation facilities, infrastructure development through construction, and maintenance of roads and bridges, and provides tax revenues to the government, the national and the county governments. In addition, the industry provides linkages to input suppliers and raw materials for other industries, such as bagasse for power corn generation and molasses for a wide range of industrial products, including ethanol, beverages, confectionery, and pharmaceuticals. Ladies and gentlemen, even with the noted significance of this subsector, my ministry has been concerned with price or income, if you like, instability, undermining investment in the sugar subsector. To address this, I appointed a technical committee on 30th August 2021 to examine causes of price stroke income instability and design a price stabilization framework for the sugar value chain, comprising measures that address specific value chain inefficiencies and weaknesses at farm, processing, trading, and subsector levels, and mobilization of industry, price income stabilization resources, including funding to be used for intervening in the market to cushion vulnerable actors, notably smallholder, against extreme. I am pleased that the team has completed its task and have submitted a report which we shall implement in earnest. I commend the Taskforce and AFA for their technical support towards its completion. I also extend my sincere gratitude to sugarcane farmers and industry stakeholders for fully cooperating with the Taskforce in the development of this stabilization framework. I look forward to this collaboration and support also during the implementation process. Ladies and gentlemen, needless to say that the director in charge of the Sugar Directorate has already taken you through the findings of the Taskforce, and they are comprehensive enough, and of course also the recommendations, and I don't want to repeat them. I am sure you will have an opportunity in your own time also to go through the detailed report. So I am satisfied, as I've said from my written speech, that the Taskforce has done a good job, and as a ministry we will now move to the next level of implementing the findings and the recommendations of the Taskforce. And as I've said, we look forward to working with all the stakeholders in this subsector in that journey of implementing the recommendations of the Taskforce. The county governments, who have a primary responsibility of implementing policy developed at the national level and even at the county level in the agricultural sector, which is largely devolved. The other critical stakeholders and primary stakeholders, who are the farmers, and of course the industrialists who are invested in the subsector in value addition. We look forward to collaborating and working with you to succeed in implementing the recommendations. The recommendations have come at a very opportune time when the National Assembly has now passed the sugar bill. And I'm told the committee, the Agricultural Committee of the Senate, I suspect sitting with the Committee of the National Assembly, because it is, this function is, this mandate is dual mandate between the two levels of government. We'll be meeting, I'm told, on tomorrow to fine-tune and clean up the bill in preparation for forwarding it to the President for his signature. So this is a milestone, and I'm very, very, very happy with that outcome, because we are getting concerned with the delay that was taking place in passing this bill that was introduced earlier than even some of the bills that have already been passed in Parliament. I also want to thank the Member of Parliament for Kanduyi, Wafula Wamunyinyi, who actually initiated the bill. It was a private member's bill. I want to thank him in absentia. Even though we collaborated with him when I joined the ministry, and we did a lot of changes to the original bill. So even though it carries his name, it has some big input from the ministry and from the Taskforce report that had been done earlier, because there was a report again that was recommending a bill, which gave recommendations, many recommendations, which we incorporated into the final bill that has now been passed by Parliament. This bill is going to change this sector. In fact, if you ask me, it is going to transform the sugar subsector in a big way, because the bill envisions the return of the sugar board that used to exist before. So there will be now focus on the subsector. When all the boards that used to focus on specific value chains were merged together, the sector was lost. The entire agricultural sector, it brought a lot of confusion. because you can't have one agency overseeing the entire agricultural sector. I've always continued to say it was a mistake. I maintain that it was a mistake. Well intentioned, because people thought it was now, everything is devolved. Let us now. But it's not everything that is devolved. And even within a devolved structure, you can have a forecast. You can have specific institutions that are focused, but you create an agency that brings together all the crops in the country into one agency. What are you trying to do? Especially in a country where we are very good at turfs, protecting our turfs. Everybody becomes some kind of a king in their own. In that kind of an environment, it becomes very difficult to solve problems. It becomes very difficult to address problems. Yet the institutions are usually created for that purpose, to solve problems, to be able to address the challenges that affect people, that affect farmers, that affect stakeholders. So that is the biggest challenge we have with AFA, and this has nothing to do with any individual who did that or whatever. We are just saying it was a mistake, and we are correcting it. We are correcting it by restructuring the institution to have value chain dedicated boards that are able to focus and deal with those issues. And on this journey, we already have the tea board back. The tea board is now in place and addressing the challenges of the tea subsector. We've tried with coffee, but unfortunately, the bill is stuck in Parliament, the coffee bill. It appears coffee sector has more entrenched cartel than the sugar subsector. Surprisingly, I thought the sugar subsector has a bigger cartel. That was my original thinking. But now I am revising my views. Because I don't know why we have a problem with passing the coffee bill. The structure is the same the structure is the same. So if you say the bill dealing with coffee is impinging on county mandates, then the same should apply with the sugar bill, isn't it? The same should apply with tea bill. The same should apply with other bills that we are envisioning, because the structure is the same. We are not inventing a structure. We are looking at the constitution and saying this is the mandate of the counties as far as agriculture is concerned. This is the mandate of the national government. This is where both national and county governments meet, where they must work together. So when somebody tries to use the devolutions as an excuse to continue exploiting coffee farmers in the country, it's very unfortunate. We have done a little changes in the coffee, and you can see prices have improved. All we wanted to do is entrench that policy change into a legal framework. And I believe we will succeed. It doesn't matter how long it will take us. We will be able to surmount that. But I'm happy, at least I'm very, very happy for the sugar sector. We have been able to get the bill, and I want to thank the stakeholders who have been engaged in the bill. I want to thank, as I've said, Wafula Amonyenyi. I want to thank Governor Oparanya, who was also very instrumental in producing the Taskforce report that we borrowed heavily from in bring changes to the bill. I want to thank all the governors actually in the sugar belt, including the governor of Kisumu, who was also part of the process. I want to thank them for their contribution and their collaboration in ensuring that this bill get the light of day and is there in place now. So some of the recommendations that are already in the Taskforce have actually been implemented by the passing of the bill. We were anticipating the passing and we wanted to prepare ourselves. So this was part of the preparatory work actually, so that when the bill is in place, then we won't delay in again sending people to do findings. We have a report that we can proceed to implement. And The bill envisions the creation of, it envisions a levy, sugar levy that used to be there, but it also avoids the misuse of the levy, because the levy used to be misused. There used to be money. There used to be money that was used for other purposes other than helping farmers and helping the sector. So in the bill, we made it very, very clear, and we will do very stringent regulations on how that levy will be utilized. And the levy is largely on imports. So it is a double-edged sword in terms of helping the farming community, the sugar farming community, in the sense that it will increase the cost of the sugar that is bought outside, at the same time generate money to invest in supporting sugar farming, doing infrastructure, you know. And it also envisions money that will be sent to the counties to help do the roads, help do, you know, nurseries. It also has money within this levy that will be sent to the Sugar Research Institute that now has no money at all, that was also killed by those reforms. Just the same way the Tea Research Institute was kind of almost killed by the so-called reforms. So that money will be to generate enough resources, not a very big one, but it is required to be able to support the infrastructure that is required to sustain and improve the sugar subsector. So I'm sure we'll be able to look into the bill in more details once it is signed by the President. But those are the key recommendations, the key institutional redesign that are in the Sugar Act, or Sugar Bill that is now going to be the Sugar Act. Supporting crop husbandry at the county level, supporting counties with those resources to do, you know, to support farmers with inputs and quality inputs, etc., etc. The regulations will also, as we implement these recommendations, we will focus on that issue of price. Price. What do we do so that the farmer can get adequate compensation? And therefore, we'll make that very important step of moving away from designing, coming out with a price that is based on weight to a price that is based on the sugar content, the sucrose content that adequately compensates the farmers, so that farmers will also invest on quality, so that we don't continue penalizing those who invest in quality. Because when you compensate on weight, those whose sugarcane is full of water and those whose sugarcane is full of sucrose, they are paid the same. Is that fair? No. So we want to move into that fair compensation, because measurements in trading, we say measurements are very important. What you use to measure when you are paying for some commodity, the measurement measures the measurement. What you use to measure is a key in determining fairness, fair compensation. Kama unauza mahindi uweke ile inaitwa ni ngorogoro, yani umeigonga huko chini. You are cheating on what? You are cheating on measurements. You are cheating the owner of the mahindi. Umeigonga na ukaificha, sasa umeweka tu hapo unafanya hivi kwa haraka. That is maybe a rudimentary way, but there are more complicated ways of doing it, like what we are doing now. And we are happy, we have made a lot of progress in setting up the units the sucrose measuring units that are foolproof, that will be helping us in determining pricing based on sucrose content. Even as we support farmers with input to also improve quality. Because it's not enough to tell them, produce good quality sugar when we are not supporting them with the infrastructure that is required, the quality seeds, the fertilizer, affordable fertilizer, etc., etc. So as we build the ecosystem that will be supporting the farmers, then we will now also move now to that fair compensation. That way we'll be moving in tandem. Instead of just telling them, we'll compensate you this way, but we are not supporting them we are not giving them the support they require in producing good quality. So overall, let me say, we've been able to, from our study, from our interaction with farmers, from our looking at other subsectors, the sugar sector is viable. It is very viable. Don't be cheated. Because I know there is a theory that has been sold in this region that you see, we need to move to growing something else. The sugar sector cannot pay. The farms are small. Well, it's true, the farms are becoming small. If we can prevent the subdivision, maybe it's a good idea. But it is more for every other crop, isn't it? It is not. Actually, the sugar belt has bigger farms, if you ask me. Isn't it? Than coffee. Coffee people are growing in a quarter acre. And if they are supported well, they can still make some money from that quarter acre, even as they do something else. So the subdivision obviously has impact, and the county should concentrate on looking at how to mitigate that. But overall, sugarcane farming is viable. It can make money for farmers. It can make money even for other players in the sector. What we need is a framework that brings fairness. Isn't it? Fairness to all the players. All the players. And of course, cushions the farming from whatever other vagaries that may affect it. And we are able to do that from all the standards and from all these reports. The solutions are there. I believe, not just I believe, I know, looking at what we have, the land we have, and the resources we have, it is possible to produce enough sugar for our domestic consumption. It is possible. It is possible. Yeah. Let us not be cheated. It is possible. We just need to plan and start that journey. It is possible. Just open up all the areas that we are able to produce sugarcane, and they are known. Ensure these farmers are paid well, compensated well for their farming. Then they invest in the farming. But nobody will invest in an area where he's making nothing. Wakulima si taka niseme nini? They are not slaves. And the era of slavery is long gone. Hiyo wakati ilisha hiyo. Where somebody was carrying another human being and forcing him to work in his farm and pushing him like his donkey. Hiyo tulimalizana naye. Na colonialism tulimalizana naye. Ama hatukumalizana naye. So if there are any vestiges left, we must also deal with them. Because vestiges can remain. You can say umemalizana naye. Eh? Yeah. Na najua serikali ya baba itafanya hiyo kazi. Tukiwa tunamshikilia. I apologize if you don't support Baba in this hall, but those are personal opinions. Am I gagged? No. These are my personal opinions, so don't get offended. Just expressing myself freely like a Kenyan who is protected under the Constitution. That gives me freedom of expression. Isn't it? You are also free to say yours. when you get an opportunity. Now that the podium is mine, I am not prevented from saying that. We will be building on, Baba will be building on what the president has done already. There are many challenges still ahead which we need to deal with. And in this subsector, we have already tried to compensate to pay farmers for the arrears. They have been accumulated, especially in the government-run factories. We've not cleared all of them, but we want to clear all of them. We want to clear all of them going forward. We will do that in this financial year, the new financial year that we are going. We will have a clean slate so that farmers can start. Farmers and the workers can start with a clean slate. We already dealt with the government debts. So even when Audi talks about, I don't know how many billions, he is also including taxes, and so the debt is not as big as Audi would want you to believe. Because the bigger debt was government. Money owed to KRI, money owed to I don't know who, all those. Those ones we already agreed, and it was passed in the cabinet that we write them off. Those billions you want us writing off. So I would update your books. Update your books. Hiyo tulimaliza na tukakubaliana imeenda, si ndio? Sasa ile imebaki ni ile pesa ya kulipa wafanyikazi kwa mishahara yao na kulipa wakulima wale wamepeleka miwa na wajalipwa. Na tumelipa, tumepiga hatua. Tunasema mkitupigia kura, sisemi sasa mkitupigia steam, lakini mkipigia baba specifically, tutaweza kumaliza hiyo ndeni nyingine imebaki hapo. Alafu tuwe na wakulima wawe hawana mzigo wa kubeba wa madeni. Ndio tuanze hapo. Lile lingine muhimu ni kuhakikisha kwa sekta hiyo kuna competition. Liberalizing the sector to ensure there is competition. Competition. At the farming level there is already a lot of competition. Now I'm talking about competition at the milling level. That also helps in improving prices, isn't it? When you ensure there is competition. And I'm happy there are many people investing in this sector. Even today we are going to open a factory in Kisi, sugar factory. What is that saying? It is saying the sector is viable. Why are people putting in money and putting out factories if the sector is not viable? I know there is another factory that opened up in the Maasai land in Kirigoris, that zone here. It's opening up, and other places. So there is expansion. There is expansion. That's why I was saying it is viable. It is actually looking at last year and the other year. It is one of the value chains that contributed to the growth of the agricultural sector. Tea and sugar.